What happened in the historical battle depicted in the opening scene of the 2015 movie, The Revenant? The battle was real, but the details are different, so let's take a look. First of all, the battle happened in an expedition previous to the one where Hugh Glass was attacked by a grizzly bear, not the same expedition. And even though the movie shows the fur trappers being led by Captain Andrew Henry, the real battle happened under the command of his business partner, William Henry Ashley, sometimes nicknamed the General. In the 2002 novel, the battle is described only briefly in a letter from General Ashley to his business investors in St. Louis. The men of the Rocky Mountain Fur Company were attacked by the Arikara after trading in good faith for 60 horses. The Arikara attacked without provocation, killing 16 of our men, wounding a dozen, and stealing back the horses they had feigned to sell to us the day before. In the face of this attack, I was forced to retreat downstream. This same story is told briefly in the 1982 reprint of the 1965 book Mountain Men and Fur Traders of the Far West. In March 1823, General Ashley ascended the Missouri River with 70 men. He reached the Arikari villages, where, after friendly negotiations, he was treacherously attacked and forced to withdraw down the river. With a loss of 12 dead and 12 wounded, 3 of whom died later of their wounds. The 1968 book Beaver Skins and Mountain Men has its own take on the conflict. In the spring of 1823, General Ashley came back up the Missouri River with more men and 2 keelboats loaded with fresh supplies. When he stopped to trade for horses at an Arikara village at the mouth of the Grand River, a storm forced him to tie up there for the night and make camp ashore. Early next morning, the Arikara, having decided to repossess the horses they had just sold, opened fire, and in a few minutes killed 15 of the men and all the animals they had expected to recover. Ashley dropped back down the river and sent young Jedediah Smith to summon help from Fort Henry. Fort Henry was named after Captain Andrew Henry, who had stayed there to carry on trapping and fur trading. Now let's go to the book with the most details about what happened, The Saga of Hugh Glass from 1976. The Rikaris, and Picaris, as the Arikaras were alternately called, were comparatively advanced Indians, who not only built permanent lodges like those of the Pawnees, but fortified their towns with a ditch surrounding palisade. These defense measures were the means by which they had held their ground after the Sioux moved from the Great Lakes region out of respect for the guns which the Chippewas had bought from the French. Above and beyond that feud with the Sioux, the Arikaras were always kittle or unpredictable to approach, as they sometimes undertook to fling lead at passing craft on the river. Although Ashley was aware of all these matters, he had come to the region to get rich, so at his command, the boats proceeded toward the Arikara River narrows. Going ashore, Ashley, who was very anxious for horses, insisted that the trading should be conducted on a beach which lay between the river and the 2 walled villages. According to his own report, 3/4 of them, the Arikaras, already had what he described as London fusils, a type of flintlock musket. What they were short of was powder for their weapons, and this the emergency, lack of horses, made the general willing to give them. Meanwhile, the fur hunters, as opposed to the boatmen, were camped on the beach. By nightfall, most of the 40 hunters were under canvas on the beach. Having given orders for sunup starts by land and water, Ashley had gone to sleep in the belief that there was nothing to fear from the Rees after all. He first learned differently when he was waked, as he estimated, at 3 in the morning, and was informed that one of the hunters had been killed by the Indians. The messenger also said that from the way the Indians were acting, he judged that they planned a sneak attack on the men ashore. Unfortunately, Ashley did not take the warning seriously and was not ready for the attack. Meanwhile, the men on the beach huddled in their tents, for there was a torrential downpour as dawn drew near. Under the cover of that watery screen, some of the Arikaras stole out of their village and took firing positions in clumps of bush. They also manned a driftwood breastwork at one end of the sandbar. This done, they could rake the camp with fire from two directions, attack the boats from an unexpected compass point, and cut down any who might think the sandbar a refuge. As soon as it was light enough for the Rees to see their front sights, they started burning the powder obtained from Ashley, who later noted that the Indians commenced a heavy and well-directed fire from a line extending along the picketing of one of their towns and some broken land adjoining. The general tried to get the situation promptly in hand, but he was balked by two factors. The first was the quality of his boatmen. Panicked their master, they refused to bring the keelboats to the support of the men on land. Instead, they thrashed out of firing range, and it was from there that a few sandier souls put skiffs in the water to help the men trapped on the beach. The second was the quality of his trappers. In place of wishing to flee, they were furious and tried to tough it out. So these, as Ashley wrote, refused to cooperate with their would-be rescuers. From a predisposition on their part not to give way to Indians as long as it was possible to do otherwise, the most of them refused to make use of the opportunity of embarking. The large skiff returned with 4, 2 of them wounded, and was immediately started back, but unfortunately one of the oarsmen was shot down, and by some means the skiff set adrift. By then the embattled trappers had found that shooting back at redskins covered by a palisade or concealed by brush was a non-profit undertaking. But when they began to retreat, they discovered that the big skiff was a derelict, while the other was taken to the opposite side of the river by 2 men, one mortally wounded. Ashley went on to describe the tragic scramble that followed. Some swam to the boats. Others were shot down in the edge of the water and immediately sunk, and others who appeared to be badly wounded sunk in attempting to swim. Of the 40 who had counted on leaving for Fort Henry that morning, 12 were either slain outright, drowned, or had died from wounds by the time the defeated expedition had found, 25 miles downstream, a suitable point for encampment. Mustering his survivors, the general learned that Hugh Glass and a dozen others were wounded. Although Ashley was returning back and running the re-gauntlet under cover of rifle fire, he wasn't talking to listening men. The morale of the outfit had died when the boatmen had let the trappers down, and the general had been unable to keep the former from fleeing. Most of both sorts were for quitting, and the 30 who volunteered to stick said they weren't going upriver again without a strong supporting force. Pinned down by their determination, Ashley soon made his headquarters at the mouth of what he called the Sheegan, but what was doubtless the Cheyenne River. From his first stopping point, he wrote the quoted report to the United States Indian Agent at Fort Atkinson. The general wanted the army to help him take the Arikaras in hand. This and other communications were taken downriver by the boat Yellowstone Packet, aboard which were the badly wounded men and many Hale men who had resigned after seeing what the West was like. There weren't so many of the former as there had been, because 3 of the men blooded by the Rees subsequently cashed in, making the death total 15. As you probably know, those who did not quit included Jim Bridger, John Fitzgerald, and Hugh Glass, with their greatest adventure yet to come. And that is the true story of the battle between the Arikara warriors and fur trappers on the American frontier. Thank you for watching. Please like this video and see links in the description below to watch The Revenant and read The Saga of Hugh Glass.